The statue for Hall of Fame runner Johnny Kelly stands just a few strides off the Boston Marathon course near legendary Heartbreak Hill. Kelly was a key player in how the hill got its name, but his is just half of the story.
Tarzan Brown broke Johnny Kelly's heart, so they called it Heartbreak Hill, and it's been known as that ever since.
So who was Tarzan Brown?
My name is Anna Brown Jackson. I am one of the granddaughters of Ellis and Tarzan Brown.
We caught up with Anna Brown Jackson at a cafe in Kingston, Rhode Island, not far from where her grandfather grew up, the youngest son in a Native American Narragansett family whose tribe, according to an 1880 Rhode Island law, no longer existed.
His family always said, you know, we're still Narragansett. From what we hear, he was pretty wild. And his relatives started noticing how fast he was as far as running, so they would pick him to run to his aunts and uncles' houses to relay messages.
That speed and agility earned him the nickname Tarzan, and eventually the eye of a local trainer, Thomas Tippy Salamino.
Salamino asked him how old he was. He was 12 at the time. He said, "You come back when you're 16.
By age 19, Brown competed in his first Boston Marathon, finishing 32nd. 3 years later, in the Newton Hills, he'd cross paths with Johnny Kelly and make history.
Everyone was hearing this Indian was gonna come and run, and Johnny Kelly, the elder, jumped in the race. He was a favorite. But my grandfather and him were very good friends.
Kelly had won Boston the previous year, 1935, so as he neared the Newton Hills, he was shocked to learn he was running second.
Mr. Kelly caught up to my grandfather. He kind of patted him on the back as if to say, "Good job, I'll take it from here." And it spooked my grandfather, like they said he took off like a bat out of you-know-where. And he won the race in 1936.
Reporter Jerry Nason would later recount the incident in the Boston Globe.
So they called it Heartbreak Hill, and it's been known as that ever since.
For Brown, heartbreak would take a very different form. Anna Brown Jackson drives us to the small home where her grandfather lived with his wife Ethel and their 4 kids.
During the Depression, when my grandfather had come from poverty, he would go up to the prize table to see what the bounty was. If first prize was a watch and maybe second prize was his and her matching bathrobes, something the family needed or could use, he would come in second on purpose.
In 1946, at 32, Ellis and Tarzan Brown ran his final Boston Marathon, finishing 12th. While Anna Brown doesn't remember the striking young man who dominated the running world for a decade, she'll never forget her loving grandfather, who died tragically at age 61.
To us, he really didn't die. He still lived within us. He still was with us as far as what he taught us, what he showed us. And I think all of us have a part of him in us.
Go! Locally, Brown is remembered with 2 annual road races, including this one in Mystic, Connecticut, that's entering its 50th year. He's also honored here in Charleston, Rhode Island on the Carter Preserve with a plaque and a 4-mile running trail where people can get outside and connect with nature.
He would have loved this. He loved outdoor, everything about being outside and outdoors.
What a story. And while Ellis and Tarzan Brown last ran the Boston Marathon in 1946, his final cash race would come almost 10 years later when a sailor reportedly challenged him to a foot race for $5. Brown won.